As we continue to zero in tonight on the blizzard that paralyzed western New York several weeks back, there has been intense scrutiny on the response, specifically in the city of Buffalo, where 35 of the 44 storm-related deaths happened. The Buffalo Common Council has grilled leaders in several city departments, and today members focused in on the Buffalo Fire Department during a committee meeting. There are several resolutions that are now before the council, covering everything from equipment to the city's storm plan to also adding new positions to better deal with future disasters. And joining us live to understand all that's happening is Christopher Scanlon. He represents the South District in the Buffalo Common Council. We appreciate you coming in tonight, and I want to start with that issue of equipment. This blizzard so intense that we saw so many emergency vehicles getting stuck. They couldn't respond to calls at certain points. What do you know about how much equipment the city is lacking right now, how much needs to be added, and then kind of the cost of all this?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think when you're talking about equipment and what the city has in its inventory, you have to look at it from two different sides of the equation. You have to be prepared to respond to emergencies such as last month's blizzard, but also we have to be able to provide the services that city residents pay for and expect. So we need to look at bolstering and upgrading the departments of public works, fire and police, and their vehicle inventory to make sure that we can respond to whatever is called.
Specifically with the fire department today, the fire commissioner answered a lot of questions. He brought with him his superintendent of apparatus, who gave some specifics on fire trucks and other equipment. Listen to this part of what he said today.
During the height of the storm, there were up to 10 fire trucks stranded, and they were stranded because of the weather conditions. Only 2 vehicles stranded had mechanical issues, and that's across the entire city. So before the storm, we did prep our fleet.
He said he felt the fire department was well prepared, at least in getting the fleet that is available ready for the storm. Zeroing in specifically on the fire department, we've heard from a lot of union members, people like yourself, who say that there are some serious needs within that department in terms of the equipment. What is on the table right now? What are they missing?
You know, the big problem with the fleet in general is its age. It's very antiquated. You have 60, 70, 80% of, depending on what type of equipment you're referencing, that's over 12, 13, 14 years old. There's a tremendous amount of lead time when you purchase this equipment. So you're getting into 15, 16, 17, upwards of 20 years of use of these equipment. And moving forward, we cannot continue to do that. I've heard from people repeatedly that, you know, this equipment hasn't led to the serious injury or death of a resident, but I'm not willing to sit back and wait for that to happen. We need to be proactive. We need to be purchasing this equipment, turning over the entire inventory in a more regular interval, and making sure that the men and women of the fire department can respond to the calls when they're called upon.
One of the resolutions that was debated today calls for using American Rescue funds to pay for some of this new equipment. So sort of a two-part question. Are you allowed to do that, considering that was COVID money? I mean, do you have that leeway? And then also, what kind of dollar figures are we talking about here? Why wasn't this done, you know, a long time ago, considering this isn't just about the blizzard, as you said, right? These are needs that have been there.
Yeah, no, these are long-time needs, and this isn't a new conversation that we're having. I've been having this conversation for several years now, asking for additional resources to be allocated to these departments, again, whether it's police, fire, or public works, to make sure that the men and women of those departments can go out and do the job that they're tasked with. When it comes to the American Rescue Plan Fund, I believe that you can use these resources to upgrade public safety. I've done some research, our staff has done some research where we've discovered other municipalities doing the same thing, so I don't know why it would be any different in Buffalo. So our big push is to ask the administration, come together with us, have a conversation so we can agree on amending our spending plan to make sure that these departments are state of the art.
Yeah, we know that there is a good chunk of money that's there. The question is how to spend it. Finally, let me go back to the blizzard and ask you something specific here about the plan moving forward. The mayor has come out and said that he wants a city fleet director, wants to add this new position. Others, I think yourself included, have suggested that there should be an emergency services coordinator, which the city doesn't currently have. It's technically the fire commissioner. What do you make of what the mayor wants versus what others say? And what about combining these two jobs into one new position? Is that something being debated?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I know everyone is kind of jockeying for what they want, but I think we've got to come together and kind of combine these two positions. When it comes to a fleet manager, I think you have people in place, whether it's embedded within these departments who are managing these fleets. Then you have the deputy commissioners and commissioners. You have a division of purchase within the city of Buffalo who can kind of handle these responsibilities on a day-to-day basis, while an emergency management coordinator can kind of offset or supplement those needs and requirements with what equipment that might be needed for those more serious events, whether they be snow-related or weather-related like last month, or serious emergencies like last year's terrible shooting on Jefferson Avenue. We've got to be able to respond to crisis no matter what they are. And this emergency management position would be that quarterback or that general manager who handled all these situations, brought the departments together, would be in charge of mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. But during downtime in between events like that, and hopefully there's plenty of that downtime, we don't see events like this, but they can be writing grants and pursuing other funding. They can develop and administer training to elected officials and other essential employees. So I think that some of the responsibilities of that fleet manager could be rolled into that emergency management coordinator position.
Well, we will continue to follow what Buffalo Common Council member Christopher Scanlon represents the South District in City Hall. Thanks for coming in, and keep us apprised as this moves forward.
Thank you for having me.